Leader of the Opposition.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I appreciate that there was information about recruitment in the speech from the throne, and I think it was 20 doctors over a year. So given the current waiting list, it looks like if we're recruiting 20 doctors a year, assuming no more population growth, it will take about 3 years from now until you successfully achieve your commitment to eliminate the waiting list. J'espère que le ministre de Santé peut nous confirmer que c'est son but à ce point pour une autre 3 ans d'attente pour le monde qui veut accès aux soins primaires ici en Nouveau-Brunswick pour leur famille.
Minister of Health.
Well, again, Mr. Speaker, we know that in the throne speech, gains were seen across professionals, net increase of 100 doctors since 2018. Mr. Speaker, the member across the way, again, is again, trying to paint a picture that may not be as accurate as it could be or should be here in the province of New Brunswick. We know there's more work to be done. And that's why within the Department of Health, we've created the Human Health Resource Department. And they are recruiting internationally. They are going out and recruiting RNs, healthcare workers. And you know, when we look at the barriers that we've removed for internationally trained nurses to come here in the province of New Brunswick and have their credentials realized, we look back at what the Gallant government did to remove those barriers. Mr. Speaker, let me just take a minute to read the list of the Gallant government accomplishments. Oh, there are none. Mr. Speaker, when we look at the number of internationally trained nurses and doctors that have come here...
Time, Minister. Leader of the Official Opposition.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Je suis heureux que le ministre de Santé parle des infirmières parce que ça, c'est quelque chose qu'on manquait du discours du trône. Puis j'apprécie que le membre du troisième parti ait mentionné. Il n'y a aucun plan pour rétention. You're talking about recruiting more people, but if you're losing them out the back end, then your recruitment efforts will be in vain. We are competing desperately with the provinces around us to retain our valued nurses and nurse practitioners. Can the minister please reassure the House and New Brunswickers what action is being taken on a retention plan for the nurses of New Brunswick?
Minister of Health.
Well, Mr. Speaker, there are negotiations that are commencing, and there's a contract with the RNs within the province of New Brunswick. We hope to have a very fruitful discussion during those contract negotiations, and we hope that some of the discussions that we've had already, and the Premier, myself, the Minister of Finance, on what can be done to make sure that there's a reasonable and acceptable agreement there that would include not just retention issues, but some of the other issues that are concerned with the union, who we met with as well, to try and hear some of the concerns of the frontline workers, where again, trying to make sure that people have a safe and welcoming environment, that they can thrive. And when you see the number of enrollment, students that have come forward, and also the number of people that are, again, realizing that New Brunswick is a great place to work. And this is not alone. I had my FPT meetings last week. Everyone is concerned about healthcare workers and the recruitment.
Thank you, Minister. Time. Chef de l'Opposition.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Deux questions pour le ministre sur ça. Combien des élèves sont dans le programme de Beal? How many people enrolled in the Beal program for September? And could you tell us when you anticipate the negotiations with the RNs to be completed?
Minister of Health.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. The Beal University is a unique opportunity where the first year can be done online. And I believe there's about 80, 81, maybe the member has got a specific number that they want to share with the House here today. But again, the interest in that program was significant, which again shows that people are willing to step up to help the healthcare system. Now, there are also renovations being done down in Sackville, where some of those students can go and take their second year here in the province of New Brunswick. So that's innovative. That's really something that is creative, Mr. Speaker. And when the member opposite talks about the various aspects of recruitment and retention, we continue to work with the union, with the association, and we are so pleased that the association has helped us recognize the credential of some of those internationally trained nurses, because the union said we want more people, we're producing more people.
Chef de l'Opposition.
Merci beaucoup, Monsieur le Président. I am deeply concerned about the state of our education system. Teachers, students, staff have experienced so much turmoil over this past year in striving to deliver quality education while being undermined by their government. Premier Higgs, at the protests of September 20th, you were interviewed and stated that teachers are teaching kids to lie. Can you confirm today that this is what you believe of our teachers, or will you apologize for that statement?
The Honourable Premier.
Mr. Speaker, I did attend here in front of the legislature a rally, a children's march. That was very peaceful. It was not a protest, Mr. Speaker. There were nobody protesting on this lawn, Mr. Speaker. And so I was part of that. And I did talk to a lot of very concerned parents who want a role in their child's future, Mr. Speaker. And this whole thing, Mr. Speaker, is about what is the role parents should play as their children age up to 16 particularly, Mr. Speaker. So it's interesting that we even have a debate on this topic, because parents have always been key to their children's future and the key to helping children make their decisions. And they've been key, Mr. Speaker, in relation to the continuity that exists in their home. And yes, Mr. Speaker, we know that not all homes are the best, but Mr. Speaker, you can't have a policy that rules out all homes just universally. So, Mr. Speaker, I would say there's a role for parents in kids' lives in today's society as well as in the past. And there's a role, Mr. Speaker, for us to be able to find a way to protect children. But I would ask the Leader of the Opposition, where does she stand on the role for parents, Mr. Speaker?
Leader of the Official Opposition.
I remind the Premier that this is question period, Mr. Speaker, and the questions go this way. And so I think that the teachers of New Brunswick need to hear from you, because the teachers have been undermined by your comments, and you've made it more difficult for them to deliver for the students of New Brunswick. The teachers need to hear you acknowledge that you respect their work and that you don't believe that they are teaching children to lie in New Brunswick. You are creating mistrust between parents and teachers, and you're undermining the education system. Can you reassure teachers that you will support them and that you do not believe that they are teaching kids to lie?
The Honourable Premier. Order.
Mr. Speaker, I can see why the Leader of the Opposition would not want to state position. She's done that on a number of issues, Mr. Speaker. Avoid the issues that are at hand. So, Mr. Speaker, there will be a point in time where she'll have to recognize whether parents play a role in kids' future or whether they don't. There's a balance here, Mr. Speaker, which I'm confident we can find. But, Mr. Speaker, having a policy that basically puts teachers in a very difficult position between parents and kids, that's not right, Mr. Speaker. What has been put forward by the Minister of Education is a policy that finds a path forward so that parents are engaged. We've seen, Mr. Speaker, across this country, the Leader of the Opposition must have seen it, Mr. Speaker, across this province, parents want to be engaged. So, Mr. Speaker, we shouldn't be putting teachers in that role. And of course I respect the role of teachers in the lives of our kids and in certainly the educational impact they have. And, Mr. Speaker, I respect what needs to be taught in school in order to provide an education that allows them to be successful. So, Mr. Speaker, let's get back to the basics, and, Mr. Speaker, let's ensure that our teachers have the right tools to work with.
Time. Leader of the Official Opposition.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On September 20th, Leo Hayes High School here in Fredericton was locked down because of a student carrying a toy gun. On October 6th, École secondaire de Pézequit was locked down because of a student with a BB gun. In schools all over our province, students learn hold and secure and lockdown protocols every year in order to keep them safe. Yesterday's speech from the throne included a paragraph stating that we must question misinformation that stokes fear, distrust, and division. We must never condone violence, intimidation, or intolerance of any form. 2 days earlier, the minister responsible for early childhood and education spread misinformation about statements saying that all parents beat their kids and promoted violence, saying that it's time we take back our country and defend ourselves. The law-abiding gun owners in my riding of Bathurst East and Pissaquet St. Isidore were appalled by these statements. What does the Premier have to say about his front bench minister's comments?
Minister of Education and Early Childhood Development. Order. Members, I've heard the question. I'd like to hear the answer. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you to the Leader of the Official Opposition for the question. As usual, when we're looking at what's reported in sensationalism and headlines, I want to apologize to the Woodstock Gun Club because it took away from the wonderful announcement and the dedication of the new building in the memory of Ray Tibbetts, which is what that was all about. The comments that I made, and I did clarify that if one were to read the article, is very simple. You know, we're looking at the federal Liberal NDP coalition that want to take guns away from law-abiding gun citizens and gun owners in our country. I don't hear anything from the other side that says anything to the contrary. And then from the Green Liberal coalition, prior to this session starting, we heard about, you know, talking about parents and...
Prime Minister.
Forgot.
Order. Leader of the Official Opposition.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to hear from the Premier on this, please, because there were really irresponsible comments made, and we just talked about the need to support teachers and students and ensure safety in schools. And I wonder if this fits in with the progressive Conservative Party that he leads.
Minister of Education and Early Childhood Development.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Thank you again to the Leader of the Opposition. It's nice to be able to get on my feet to clarify, you know, what was well understood at the gun club and what I was referring to. And, you know, the fact that it's been indicated by the Green Liberal coalition on the other side in our province that we just don't have a system, and that, you know, it's kids. I forgot about the question. Anyway, back to society is safe, and well, thank you for the advice. And you know, we have had some unfortunate incidents in our schools, and we continue to work on that. Children, unfortunately, are trained in secure and hold and evacuation procedures because that's necessary in our schools.
Time, Minister.